Imagine this: a studio filled with smoke. A storm is building behind Roger Waters' eyes as he sits still with his arms folded. He isn't a track mixer. He's combining anger. 5 bands. He can't tolerate these 5 names. Complete, bone-deep contempt, not just trivial hate. It reverberates when Roger Waters is angry about anything. Rebellion was the foundation of Roger Waters' reputation. It cried out that his music was unsafe. He thus means it when he calls someone out. He feels that these 5 bands have compromised the loud, unvarnished, and authentic nature of rock. The initial one? The one who has plagued his shadow for many years. U2. It began with awe. Disgust was the eventual result. U2 seemed to be the logical heir to Pink Floyd's political triumph in the early 1800s. Larger platforms, grand themes, and stadiums brimming with soul-seeking purpose. For Waters, however, it was all a show. He considered Bono's talks to be meaningless showmanship and sermons devoid of any sacrifice. He said the music was safe, sterilized, and overproduced. What most enraged him? The compliment. U2 is hailed by critics as rock's conscience. The Joshua Tree and the Wall are being compared by fans. It was blasphemous to Waters. He saw the Wall as a cry from the emptiness, a self-dissection, or a guttural scream. The Tree of Joshua? A procession of commercial anthems clothed in earnest. He saw no conscience. He perceived ego. Wearing high-end sunglasses, they go from charity gala to charity gala aboard private aircraft. The pivotal moment occurred during a London performance. Attended, curious. However, he got up, shook his head, and left the stage halfway through the concert when Bono gave yet another soapbox speech about rescuing the world. As he was leaving, he murmured, "It's all smoke and no fire." What began as adoration turned into disdain. For Waters, rock wasn't meant to give you a sense of accomplishment for accomplishing nothing. It was meant to make you uneasy enough to take action. The band of the future? In his opinion, stadiums took the souls of the legends. The Rolling Stones. Before being a brand, they were rebels. In the 16s, Waters was a fan of them. Who didn't? Their riffs were dangerous, soulful, and swaggering. They gave the impression that pandemonium was cool. However, as time passed, something changed. The edge became dull. The tours were enormous. Between designer goods and lighting systems worth millions of dollars, the message was lost. According to Waters, the Stones began making money off of the world rather than criticizing it. What previously gave them authenticity, raw blues, became a practiced routine. Baby Lemonade isn't anything I recall. That time frame was, in a sense, the jewel in the crown for me. Clad with commercial gloss and nostalgia. He saw them as parodies of who they used to be. Rock stars rebel for financial gain and exchange grit for glamour. It was principle, not personal. They offered comfort, but he thought they had the ability to push limits. He saw their late career albums as hollow relics of their former greatness. The conflict was genuine, not only intellectual. Backstage at a 19th-century European event, Waters allegedly got into arguments with Stones crew members over sound checks and performance order. When one of the Stones tour organizers brushed Waters off as being too political for the audience, tensions increased. He couldn't shake the tiny hatch-ho. The gap became colder from then on. Invitations were not accepted. Interviews were replete with backhanded comments. The industry understood there was animosity beneath those grins, even if the two sides never publicly clashed. He responded immediately when asked whether he would ever share a stage with them. He had no desire to perform in a circus. He desired a revolution. The band he named the soundtrack to shopping malls then appeared. Coldplay. Too safe, too cautious, too tidy. Roger Waters said that Coldplay was everything that rock shouldn't be. Overly sterile, emotionally indifferent, and devoid of danger. Biteless music. He saw their sound as packaging rather than a goal. Made to fit in with tech business advertisements and elevators, he never concealed his disdain for mainstream rock. Coldplay became his main target because of their stadium-sized niceness, pastel aesthetics, and glistening optimism. He compared them like a cozy blanket by a fire in terms of music. It was their emptiness, not their popularity, that enraged him. Songs with a hollow center that are designed for large crowds to sing along to. Waters sensed disinterest behind the solidarity of their chants. No advantage. No rush. feel-good music for those who are too tired to give a damn. And Coldplay remained above it all, never mentioning names or confronting the mayhem, as the globe burned with violence, corruption, and collapse. That was escapism to Waters, not neutrality. A betrayal of the purpose for which music was created. Insight, disturb, and consider. He didn't see soul in Coldplay. He recognized strategy. Cleaned and sanitized for human consumption. Their songs weren't anthems to him. They served as lullabies for an unfocused generation. He didn't just dismiss their music. It fostered quiet, which he refused. The band of the future? The ones who, according to him, destroyed legacy rock? Waters saw Muse as a warning story, a band that had all the instruments but none of the reality. He saw their presentations as soulless cacophony, despite their dazzling displays of light and sound. Their image-heavy approach, in his opinion, served as a diversion from the lack of content in their compositions. Although they flirted with insurrection in their songs, they never really committed. It was secure. He accused them, calculatingly, of imitating the grandeur of Pink Floyd. Big soundscapes, dramatic crescendos, and somber subjects, but without the unadulterated passion, pain, and blood that had always inspired his own writing. Rebellion was not a mood for Waters. There was a scar. There was also conflict behind the scenes. Waters allegedly asked why Muse had been assigned the starring role at a charity event where both were due to play. He thought their message lacked depth. They weren't worthy of the attention given to artists who had anything worthwhile to say. Although their teams never publicly battled, industry insiders speculated that Waters was irritated. To him, Muse's subtly referencing Floyd-style production without Floyd-level nuance sounded like an homage devoid of respect and like thievery without comprehension. Waters was okay with admiration, but blind imitation? That couldn't be forgiven. For him, Muse represented an age that was more concerned with emulating the appearance of revolutionaries than with mimicking their voices. And the last band? The one that drove him from apathy to rage. Consider Dragons. Waters laughed when questioned about them in an interview. Not politely. Is this rock truly what we're calling? He raised an eyebrow as if the question had just angered him. He compared Imagine Dragons to fast food in terms of music. For optimal palatability, it should be mass-produced, packaged, and predictable. They were the epitome of resistance that had been marketed. He said that the kind of music that fills stadiums but depletes meaning consists of anthemic choruses devoid of conflict and loud tunes with nothing to say. He saw them as a brand more than a band. A product, encased in neon and guitars. Perfect for halftime performances and algorithms, full in guitar form. Having previously composed songs that denounced violence, spying, and insanity, Waters recognized in Imagine Dragons a band that stood for nothing yet was nonetheless everywhere. Not only did they lack substance, but they also acted as if they did. He once said that nothing is worse than passing off noise as revolution. Not only did he not like them, he detested what they stood for. Message deterioration in favor of marketability. Style triumphed over spirit. To him, their music sounded like drum machine denial in a burning world. Roger Waters has always called for more from music, more bravery, more honesty, and more ferocity. Music wasn't background noise to him. It was a weapon, a yell, a rhythmically timed wound. Entertainment wasn't the point. Confrontation was the issue. For him, these 5 bands didn't measure up, not because they lacked skill. However, they refined their sound, mellowed its edge, and played it safe since they lacked the courage to bleed to the fullest. That was the ultimate betrayal to Waters. Of aim, not of genre. He recalled the days when an album cover provoked discussion in Parliament, when a lyric might land you in jail, and when rock music was more than simply art, it was rebellion. It was his gift to the world. He anticipates receiving it in exchange. Waters disliked because he cared, not because he detested headlines. Because he felt that art should feel like a punch rather than a pat, and that music should shout while the world murmured. That it ought to transform stages into battlefields rather than advertising signs. Impact was what he desired, not fame. He wanted combatants, not admirers. He was looking for march music, not mall music. Lyrics that questioned authority rather than playing around with algorithms. And he's not looking for solace when he hears Now. He is looking for music that sounds like an alarm in a society that is asleep, for truth that stings, and for resistance. The majority of what he hears is just insufficiently loud, either in terms of meaning, message, or guts. He felt that when the world needed volume, the industry became too silent. According to Roger Waters, your music may as well say nothing at all if it doesn't question anything.